Lieutenant Ji Wu Li stood before the gathered Alliance members in the asteroid base's main hall. Behind him, large screens showed images of harvester ships and their tower technology. As the Alliance's best tactical officer, he had spent weeks studying every battle, every encounter, and every escape. They think they're unstoppable. Ji Wu began, his voice clear and strong. And that's their weakness. They hunt us because they need us, but they never thought we could fight back. Commander He-Jin Park watched from the side as Ji Wu brought up a new image, a detailed scan of a harvester tower taken by the Lumini before their world fell. These towers don't just take consciousness, Ji Wu explained. They store it, like a battery. And every battery has limits. A Synthi representative stepped forward, their partly mechanical body humming softly. We have analyzed the energy patterns. The towers must transfer their stored consciousness to the harvester ships within 30 days, or the energy becomes unstable. Exactly, Ji Wu said. They're so focused on hunting new consciousness, they never considered what would happen if the consciousness fought back. He pressed a button, and the screen showed a new diagram. The Verdani discovered something important. When their plant-based consciousness was taken, it created unexpected patterns in the towers. The harvesters couldn't process it properly. Kaylin's silver skin brightened with understanding, because plant consciousness works differently than other types. Yes, Ji Wu nodded. And now we know every species develops consciousness in slightly different ways. Human consciousness is quick and adaptive. Astori consciousness is deep and connecting. Lumini consciousness is structured and crystalline. Verdeni consciousness is growing and changing. Synthi consciousness is logical and expanding. He-Jin stepped forward. What are you suggesting? We stop running, Ji Wu said simply. We let them find us. But not as separate species, as one unified consciousness. The hall burst into confused discussions. Mira Kang, who had been quietly observing, suddenly spoke up. The translation matrix. We've been using it to combine our languages. What if we could use it to combine our consciousness patterns? Engineer Ta-Sung Choi jumped in. The Synthi's living metal technology could carry the combined pattern, and the Lumini's crystals could amplify it. When they try to harvest us, Ji Wu continued, they'll get something they've never encountered before. 5 different types of consciousness, all evolved, all combined, all fighting back together. Do-Young Kim, who had been running calculations on her tablet, looked up. The towers wouldn't be able to handle it. The energy patterns would cascade, becoming more unstable with each attempt to process them. And if we can overload one tower, Ji Wu said, we can overload them all. He-Jin finished. They're connected through the harvester ships. What affects one, affects all. The hall grew quiet as everyone considered the plan. It was dangerous. Many would risk their consciousness in the attempt, but for the first time, they had a real chance to fight back. There's more, Ji Wu added. They think they destroyed Earth. They think humanity is finished. They won't expect us to return. We can use that surprise. He-Jin looked around the room at the gathered species, former enemies now united against a common threat. We'll need time to prepare, to perfect the consciousness merger, to strengthen our ships, to plan the attack. And we'll need volunteers, Ji Wu said softly. People willing to risk their consciousness to overload the towers. One by one, representatives from each species stepped forward. The Lumini glowed with determination. The Verdani swayed with readiness. The Synthi hummed with purpose. The Astori shimmered with courage. And the humans, they stood tall, carrying the hope of Earth with them. The time for running was over. Now, they would hunt the hunters. In the underground control room of Mars Base Alpha, Colonel Sarah Chen showed the Alliance members something extraordinary. On a large screen, tiny dots of light pulsed across Earth's surface, moving between the harvester towers like a secret network. At first, we thought these were just power transfers, Sarah explained. Then we realized the truth. The dots are conscious minds, communicating with each other inside the tower network. Do Young studied the patterns closely. They're organizing themselves, she said with growing excitement. The harvested consciousness isn't just resisting, it's planning. Cadlin moved his silver hand through the holographic display, like a neural network, but made of millions of minds working together. Engineer Ta-Sung walked around the display, his eyes wide. Look at how they move. They're using the harvester's own energy channels to talk to each other. They turned their prison into a communication system. Commander He-Jin watched the flowing patterns. Can we contact them? Sarah nodded and led them to another room. Inside was a device unlike anything they had seen before. It looked like a mixture of Earth technology and something alien. We built this by studying the towers, Sarah explained. We call it the bridge. It lets us send simple messages into the tower network. The consciousness inside can't reply directly, but they can send patterns we've learned to read. Mayray sat at the device's control panel. The patterns are like code, like the translation matrix we developed, but more complex. Exactly, Sarah said. And every time we send a message, the response gets stronger. The consciousness is learning, adapting, growing more organized. They're waiting for something. They're waiting for us, Ji-woo said quietly. For a chance to fight back. He-Jin turned to his crew and allies. Show them our plan. Show them how we'll combine our different types of consciousness. Sarah activated the bridge. The room hummed with energy as they sent their message into the tower network. The response came quickly. The dots of light on the display moved faster, forming new patterns. They understand, Sarah said, reading the patterns. And there's more. They've learned things about the towers from the inside, things we never could have discovered from out here. The patterns showed them secrets about the tower's weaknesses, about blind spots in the harvester's defenses, about ways to disrupt their energy systems that no one had thought possible. The harvesters made a mistake, Do Young realized. They'd been collecting consciousness for so long, they forgot what makes each species special. Humans adapt. A story connect. Lumini structure, Verdini grow, Synthi expand, and when you trap millions of minds together, they evolve into something new. He-Jin finished. Something the harvesters never expected. The Alliance members gathered around the display, watching the dance of conscious energy across Earth's surface. Years of imprisonment hadn't weakened the harvested minds. It had made them stronger, smarter, more determined. How long until the fleet is ready? He-Jin asked. 24 hours, Ji-woo reported. We need time to share this new information with all ships. He-Jin nodded. Tell them to prepare. Tomorrow, we show the harvesters exactly what evolved consciousness can do. As the others left to make preparations, He-Jin stayed behind, watching the flowing patterns of light. Somewhere in that network was Earth's consciousness, waiting for freedom. Tomorrow, they would answer that wait. The harvesters had built towers to imprison consciousness. Instead, they had created the greatest resistance army in the galaxy's history. 6 months had passed since Earth went silent. The New Horizon drifted through the darkness of deep space, its crew trying to maintain their daily routines despite the weight of loss that hung over them. Dr. Do-Young Kim sat in her lab, studying star charts when her computer began beeping. She leaned forward, adjusting her screens to get a better look at the readings. Commander Park to the science lab. She called through the ship's communication system. I found something. He-Jin arrived quickly, followed by Engineer Ta-Sung Choi. They found Do Young staring at a large piece of twisted metal floating on her screen. What are we looking at? He-Jin asked, his voice quiet but firm. Space debris, Do Young answered, zooming in on the image. But not from any civilization we know. The metal. It's not like anything in our database. Ta-Sung moved closer to the screen, his eyes narrowing. Those burn marks. They're from weapons fire. Very powerful weapons. He-Jin touched his communication badge. Lieutenant Ji-woo, bring us closer to the debris. Mayray, scan for any signals in the area. The New Horizon moved slowly toward the floating wreckage. As they got closer, more pieces became visible. They weren't just looking at parts of a ship. They were looking at pieces of what must have been a massive space station. "Commander," Mayray's voice came through the speakers. "I'm picking up a signal. It's very weak, but it's there. It's a distress beacon. Can you decode it?" There was a pause before Mayray answered. "It's not in any language we know, but the pattern is clear. Someone was calling for help." Do Young's computers suddenly lit up with new data. "This debris, it's only 6 months old." The room went quiet. Everyone understood what that meant. Whatever destroyed this station did it around the same time Earth went silent. "There's more," Du Young said, her fingers moving across her screen. "Look at these energy readings. The weapons that did this, they're similar to what we detected around Earth before we lost contact." Tae-sung picked up a tablet and started running calculations. The amount of power needed to destroy something this size, it's enormous. But what's strange is these marks here. He pointed to some damaged areas. "These aren't attack patterns. These are escape trajectories." "You mean they were running from something?" Hejin asked. "Yes," Tae-sung nodded. "Whatever destroyed this station, they were running from something even worse." Ji-woo's voice came through the speakers. "Commander, we got movement at the edge of our sensor range. Something big just dropped out of faster than light speed." "Show me," Hejin ordered. The main screen changed to show a massive shape moving through space. It was easily 10 times the size of their ship, its surface covered in what looked like black metal that seemed to swallow light. "It hasn't seen us yet," Ji-woo reported. "We're hidden behind the debris field." They watched as the massive ship moved slowly through the wreckage, seeming to scan each piece. It was searching for something. "Power down all non-essential systems," Hejin ordered quietly. "Minimal life support only. No signals, no scans." The lights dimmed as the crew held their breath. The giant ship moved closer, its dark surface now clearly visible through their windows. Strange markings covered its hull, glowing faintly with an eerie purple light. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the mysterious ship turned away, accelerating back into faster-than-light speed, leaving them alone with the debris. "Start collecting samples," Hejin ordered once they were sure the ship was gone. "Everything you can safely bring aboard. We need to understand what we're dealing with." As the crew began their work, Hejin stared at the floating wreckage. They had found their first clue about what happened to Earth, but the answer only brought more questions and more fear. Because now they knew something worse than the hunters was out there. And they had just seen it with their own eyes. Commander Hejin Park stood at the bridge of the research vessel New Horizon, watching Earth's blue sphere on the main screen. They were just passing Mars when all the communication channels started making strange noises. "Commander, I'm losing signals from Earth," said Mayray Kang, her fingers moving quickly across her control panel. Her usually calm voice had a hint of worry. "It's not just one channel. All of them are going dark." Hejin walked to her station, his face showing no fear despite the cold feeling in his stomach. "Show me," he said simply. The screen lit up with rows of communication channels. One by one, they turned from green to red. First went the military channels, then the public networks, and finally the emergency frequencies. It was like watching lights go out in a city, but each light was the voice of millions of people. "Get me the moon base," Hejin ordered. The crew waited in silence as Mayray tried to reach Earth's closest outpost. After 30 seconds, a fuzzy image appeared. The face of the moon base commander was unclear, but his voice came through broken and urgent. "New Horizon." They came from nowhere. Massive ships, like nothing we've. Earth's defenses are. The screen went black. "Try again," Hejin said, his hands gripping the back of Mayray's chair. Lieutenant Ji-woo Lee spoke up from his weapons station. "Commander, I'm picking up strange energy readings from Earth. They're unlike anything in our database. Dr. Do-Young Kim, who had been quietly analyzing data at her science station, suddenly stood up. These patterns, they're consuming energy. Not just using it. They're eating it. All of it, like a giant mouth swallowing electricity. Engineer Ta Sung Choi's voice came through the ship's speakers from the engine room. Commander, whatever's happening down there is affecting our engines. The energy readings are making them unstable. Hajin returned to his command chair, his mind racing through options. Their ship, Earth's most advanced research vessel, was supposed to be starting its mission to study distant star systems. Instead, they were watching their home world go dark. A sudden burst of static filled the bridge. Through the noise, a clear voice spoke. They all recognized it. Earth's defense chief. To all ships beyond orbit, they're coming. Don't return. Survive. Humanity must. The message cut off. Mayray, can you clean up that transmission? He-Jin asked. She shook her head. That's all we got, sir. Wait. Her eyes widened. Commander, I'm picking up something else. Thousands of small signals. They're coming from underground bunkers all over Earth. The main screen showed a map of Earth. Tiny dots of light appeared, showing underground shelters activating their emergency protocols. Then, one by one, these lights also went dark. Orders, sir? Ji-Woo asked, his hand hovering over the weapons controls. Hajin looked at each member of his crew. There were 60 people on this ship, scientists, engineers, and explorers. Maybe now, they were something else. Survivors. Plot a course away from the solar system, he ordered. Maximum speed once we clear Jupiter's orbit. Sir? Mireille turned to face him. We're leaving. He-Jin nodded slowly. The defense chief's orders were clear. Whatever's happening to Earth, we need to survive to fight back later. The bridge was silent except for the soft beeping of computers. Through the main screen, they watched their blue planet grow smaller. No one spoke about the families they all had down there. No one mentioned the billions of voices that had just gone silent. As they passed Jupiter's orbit, Tai Sung's voice came through again. Engine room ready for maximum speed, Commander. Do it, He-Jin ordered. The stars stretched into lines as the new horizon jumped to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, the solar system grew distant, a handful of dots in space, with one blue marble that had just gone terrifyingly quiet. He-Jin looked at his crew, seeing the same question in all their eyes. What could be powerful enough to make Earth go silent? And more importantly, where would they run to? They would learn the answers soon enough. But for now, they ran, carrying with them humanity's hopes and fears into the darkness of space. The new horizon led a fleet of ships through the darkness of space. After months of preparation, they were finally approaching Earth's solar system. Commander He-Jin Park stood on the bridge, watching as the familiar shapes of outer planets came into view. Neptune ahead. Mireille reported from her station. Her voice was quiet, filled with emotion at seeing home again. No harvester ships detected yet. The fleet moved carefully, using the combined stealth technology of all 5 species. The Astori silver ships reflected light like mirrors. The Lumini crystal ships bent light around them. The Verdani living ships looked like floating asteroids. The Synthi metal ships gave off no energy readings. Picking up something strange, Do-Young said from her science station. The harvester towers on Earth. They're still active, but their energy patterns are different. Different how? He-Jin asked. They're pulsing, like they're searching for something. They passed Jupiter's orbit, moving slower now. Everyone tensed as they approached Mars. This was where they had last seen Earth, where they had received that final message to run and survive. Movement detected, Ji-Woo reported suddenly, but not harvester ships. Something smaller, coming from Mars' surface. A signal reached them, making everyone freeze. It was in clear, human English. Unknown fleet, identify yourselves. This is Mars Defense Base Alpha. He-Jin's hands gripped his chair. Mars Base. They survived. Mai-Ray worked quickly at her console. The signal is real, Commander. It's coming from an underground base on Mars. After verifying security protocols, He-Jin opened a channel. This is Commander He-Jin Park of the Earth ship New Horizon. We thought everyone was gone. A video signal came through, showing a tired but smiling face. Commander Park, we've been hoping someone made it out. We need to talk. There's something you need to know about Earth. The fleet docked at the Mars base, hidden beneath the red planet's surface. Inside, they found hundreds of human survivors who had escaped Earth just before the Harvesters attacked. But what they learned changed everything. We didn't just hide, explained Colonel Sarah Chen, the base commander. We watched. We studied. The Harvesters didn't find us because we were too small to notice. And we learned something important. She led them to a large control room filled with monitors showing Earth. The once blue planet now had massive towers rising from its surface, reaching into the sky. The towers aren't just storage units, Sarah continued. They're like prisons. The consciousness they harvest. It's still aware, still fighting. The Harvesters can't fully control it. Do Young stepped closer to the monitors. That's why the energy patterns are different. The stored consciousness is resisting. Exactly, Sarah nodded. And something else. The human consciousness they harvested. It's changing inside the towers. Adapting. Growing stronger. We've been watching the energy patterns shift for months. He-Jin looked at his alien allies, then back at Sarah. We came back to fight. We found other species, learned to combine our consciousness types to overload their systems. Sarah smiled. Then you're just in time. Because the consciousness in those towers, it's waiting for a signal, a chance to fight back. The Harvesters thought they were building batteries, but they've really built themselves a trap. As the Alliance members shared their plan with the Mars base survivors, He-Jin walked to a window looking out at the red Martian sky. Beyond it, Earth waited. Not dead, not empty, but full of imprisoned minds ready to join the fight. The Harvesters hadn't killed Earth. They had only made it angry. Dr. Do Young Kim hadn't slept in 2 days. She sat in her lab aboard the New Horizon, surrounded by holographic displays showing data from all 5 species now in their alliance. The Lumini's crystal data storage had given her access to historical records she never thought possible. The door slid open, and Commander He-Jin Park walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. You missed the morning meeting, he said, placing 1 cup beside her. Look at this, Do Young said, not touching the coffee. She pointed to a pattern repeating across her screens. Every species they harvested, every civilization they destroyed. There's something connecting them all. He-Jin pulled up a chair. What do you mean? The Harvesters don't attack every species they find, Do Young explained. They only go after the ones that reach a certain level of development. At first, I thought it was about technology, but it's not. She brought up images of different worlds. Earth, the Astori homeworld, and others. It's about consciousness itself. They're hunting species that develop a specific type of awareness. The door opened again, and Caitlin entered with a Lumini named Eri, whose crystal body sparkled in the lab's light. You called for us? Caitlin asked. Yes, Do Young said. I need to confirm something. Caitlin, your people developed faster than light travel 300 years ago, correct? Caitlin nodded. Yes, but the Harvesters didn't come until 2 years ago. Exactly, Do Young said. And Eri, your people had the technology for 1,000 years before they attacked. The Lumini's crystal surface pulsed with light as they spoke. Correct. We never understood why they waited. Because they weren't waiting for our technology, Do Young explained. They were waiting for our minds to evolve. Look at this. She showed them brain scan data from all their species. Every one of our peoples developed the same pattern of neural activity, but at different times. Humans were just reaching it when they attacked. The Astori had it for only a few years, the Lumini for decades. What does it mean? He-Jin asked. It means they're not just consuming consciousness, they're harvesting evolved consciousness, advanced awareness that develops naturally over time. Du Young brought up an image of the harvester ships. And look at their ship's energy patterns. They match these neural patterns exactly. Kaylin's silver skin paled. They're using our consciousness to power themselves. More than that, Du Young said, I think they're using it to maintain their own existence. The harvesters are ancient, maybe the first species to achieve this level of awareness. But something went wrong. They couldn't maintain it on their own. So they steal it from others. He-Jin finished. They harvest evolved consciousness to keep themselves alive. Erie's crystal body flashed with patterns. This explains the towers they build. They're not just extracting consciousness, they're preserving it in its most evolved state. He-Jin stood up, his mind racing. If the consciousness is preserved, not destroyed, then our people might still be intact, Du Young said. Still trapped in those towers, but alive in some way. We need to tell the others, He-Jin said. Get everyone together. If we understand what they're doing and why, we might find a way to stop them, Kaylin finished. As they left the lab, Du Young looked at her screens one last time. The pattern was so clear now, the evolution of mind, the development of a deeper awareness, the connection between all thinking species. The harvesters hadn't just attacked them. They had revealed something profound about consciousness itself. And maybe, just maybe, that knowledge would be their weakness. The New Horizon flew through deep space, now joined by the Astori ship. In the ship's main conference room, Commander He-Jin Park watched as Mirai Kang worked with Kaylin to improve their communication systems. If we combine our translation matrices, Mirai explained, pointing to her screen, we can reach out to other survivors. Your language database has patterns we've never seen before. Kaylin nodded, his silvery skin catching the room's light. Yes, and your Earth technology is surprisingly adaptable. We never thought to use quantum frequencies this way. The door opened, and Engineer Taesung Choi walked in with another Astori. They were carrying what looked like a piece of engine equipment. Commander, Taesung said, excitement in his voice. You need to see this. The Astori power systems. They're amazing. If we combine them with ours, we could double our speed. He-Jin looked at the equipment with interest. Can we do it safely? Better than safely, Taesung replied. It would make our engines more stable. We could hide our energy signature better from the hunters. Suddenly, Mirai's console started beeping. Commander, I'm picking up a signal. It's like ours, a distress call, but it's using multiple languages. Everyone gathered around her station. The signal was coming from a distant star system, repeating in different patterns. It's not just one species calling for help, Kaylin said, his large black eyes widening. It's many. They're hiding together. He-Jin studied the star charts. How far? 3 days at our current speed, Mirai answered. But with the engine improvements, we could get there in 36 hours, Taesung finished. He-Jin stood quiet for a moment, thinking. They had been running for so long. Maybe it was time to stop running and start gathering. Make the engine modifications, he ordered. Mirai, send a response to that signal. Tell them we're coming. Humans and Astori together. The next day and a half was filled with activity. Taesung and the Astori engineers worked non-stop to combine their technologies. Mirai and Kaylin improved their communication systems, learning to blend different alien languages into something all could understand. When they arrived at the source of the signal, they found an old mining facility hidden inside an asteroid. But it wasn't abandoned. Ships of different designs surrounded it, each one clearly built by a different species. They're scanning us, Ji-Woo reported from his weapons station. A voice came through their improved communication system, speaking in a blend of languages their computer could now translate. Unknown vessels, identify yourselves. Mayray sent their response, crafted in the new combined language system she had developed. The reply came quickly. Humans. Astori. Come forward. You are safe here. Inside the asteroid, they found more survivors than they had hoped for. 3 other species had gathered here: the crystal-like Lumini, the plant-based Verdani, and the mechanical organic Synthi. Each had their own story of running from the harvesters, and each had something to offer. In the facility's main hall, Hejin watched as his crew mixed with the other species. Tae-sung was already deep in discussion with Synthi engineers about their living metal technology. Du-young was fascinated by the Lumini's crystal-based data storage systems. Mayray worked with representatives from each species, building a better communication network. Catelyn stood beside Hejin, watching the scene. This is how we survive, the Astori said softly. Not alone, but together. Each of us has pieces of the puzzle. Together, maybe we can finally understand how to fight back. Hejin nodded. The harvesters think they're hunting us, he said. But they've really done something else. They've united us. Around them, the alliance was already growing stronger. Humans teaching Earth combat tactics, Astori sharing their stealth technology, Lumini offering their advanced sensors, Verdani contributing their self-repairing systems, and Synthi bringing their adaptive technology. They were no longer just survivors. They were becoming something new. Something that could fight back. The New Horizon drifted quietly through an asteroid field, using the large rocks for cover. 3 weeks had passed since they found the destroyed space station, and Commander Hejin Park hadn't slept well since. Contact. Mayray's voice broke the bridge's silence. I'm picking up a ship signal. It's sending out a distress call. Hejin straightened in his chair. Could be a trap. The signal is weak, Mayray said, studying her screens. And it's not like the hunter ships we saw. This is different. After a long moment, Hejin nodded. Take us in closer, but stay behind the asteroids. Jiwoo, keep weapons ready. As they moved forward, they saw a small ship hidden in the shadow of a large asteroid. Its design was strange, all curves and flowing lines, unlike the sharp angles of Earth ships or the dark, threatening shapes of the hunter vessels. They're still alive in there, Du-young reported from her science station, but their life support is failing. Hejin stood up. Bring them aboard. Security teams to the docking bay. Full containment protocols. The rescue took less than an hour. When Hejin arrived at the medical bay, he found Du-young studying their new guests through the quarantine field. There were 3 of them, tall, thin beings with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer. Their large eyes were completely black, and they had 4 long fingers on each hand. One of the aliens stepped forward and spoke. Their words came out as musical sounds, but the ship's computer quickly began translating. We thank you for the rescue, the alien said. I am Navigator Cullen. We are the last survivors of the Astori people. I am Commander Hejin Park of the Earth ship New Horizon. Hejin replied. We too are survivors. Caitlin's large eyes widened. Earth. Then, they reached your world too. Hejin nodded slowly. 6 months ago. Can you tell us who they are? The 3 Astori looked at each other before Caitlin spoke again. They are the harvesters, the oldest species in the galaxy. They sleep for thousands of years, then wake to hunt. Hunt what? Du-young asked. Consciousness, another Astori said. They feed on it. On what makes us, us. Catelyn touched the quarantine field gently. They came to our world 2 years ago. We were a peaceful species, spread across 12 star systems. Now, we are less than 1,000, hiding in small ships like ours. How do they do it? Hejin asked. How do they harvest consciousness? They have machines, Catelyn explained. Great towers they build on each world they attack. The towers send out waves that, that pull the consciousness from every living thing. They store it, consume it, use it to extend their own lives. Do Young stepped closer to the field. That's what we detected on Earth. The energy waves. They weren't destroying. They were extracting. Yes, Kalen said sadly. Your people, like ours, are not dead. They are stored. Their consciousness taken, their bodies left empty. Hejin felt cold. Is there a way to reverse it? We don't know, Kalen admitted. No species has ever fought back successfully. The harvesters are too powerful, too ancient. They have technologies we can't understand. Then why are you still running? Hejin asked. Why not hide on some remote planet? Kalen's silver skin darkened slightly. Because they never stop hunting. Once they detect an advanced species, they pursue them across the galaxy until every last one is harvested. They are following us even now. As if to confirm Kalen's words, alarm suddenly blared across the ship. Jiwoo's voice came through the speakers. Commander, hunter ship detected. They're coming from behind the asteroid field. Hejin turned to the Astori. Can your ship still fly? Kalen nodded. Yes, but barely. Then come with us, Hejin said, deactivating the quarantine field. We have a better chance together than alone. As they rushed to the bridge, Hejin knew their lives had changed again. They weren't just running anymore. They had found others like them. Survivors, refugees, prey. But maybe together, they could become something else. Maybe they could become hunters themselves. 10 years passed. The first truly collaborative galactic council formed on a neutral space station. Representatives from hundreds of alien civilizations gathered. At the center of the conference hall sat 3 human delegates. They didn't look impressive. One was a scientist. One was a diplomat. One was a military strategist. But every alien in the room watched them carefully. Dr. Kim Jo-wook, the same diplomat who had first met the Kauran, sat casually. His hands rested on the table. No weapons, no special technology visible. Just a human in a simple dark suit. The station itself was a marvel of cooperative design. Each section represented a different alien civilization's architectural style. But the most innovative sections, those were clearly human-designed. Korol, the former Kauran resource specialist, now worked as a galactic diplomatic advisor. He watched the humans carefully. Old habits died hard. The first discussions were about scientific collaboration. Humans didn't demand. They proposed. They shared. They listened. But everyone remembered what humans could do if pushed. The Vex Collective presented a complex problem about interstellar resource management. Before they could finish explaining, the human scientist, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, had already sketched out 3 possible solutions. Not just solutions, innovative approaches that transformed the entire concept of resource management. The diplomatic representative suggested a method of conflict resolution that was neither human nor alien, but something entirely new. An approach that turned potential conflict into mutual growth. The military strategist said almost nothing, but his presence was a reminder, a quiet warning. Humans were here, not as conquerors, not as victims, as partners. Korol remembered the first meeting with humans, the fear, the uncertainty. Now, he watched as human representatives moved through the diplomatic hall. They didn't dominate. They didn't submit. They integrated. One alien representative asked a simple question. How do you do it? How do you turn every challenge into an opportunity? Dr. Jae-wook smiled, the same smile that had first frightened the Kauran years ago. We don't see obstacles, he said simply. We see possibilities. The Galactic Council continued. Discussions about technology, about science, about mutual understanding. Humans had not conquered the galaxy. They had something better. They had transformed it. The Kauran delegation sat in a corner, silent, watching. They had learned their lesson years ago. Humans were not a species to be conquered. They were a species that conquered possibilities. As the meeting continued, something became clear to every alien in the room. Humans weren't just another species. They were evolution itself, adaptive, resilient, unstoppable. And they were just getting started. The galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk, the end asterisk.